Tango recently held its stakeholders policy dialogue on women's political participation. The convergence, as we hear in this report by Samuel Barr, also saw the launching of the Women in Politics Project 2012, which looks at the role of women in high places and their contribution towards decision-making processes at national level.
This seminar of broad-based participation on the launch of the Women in Politics Project and the Tango Policy Dialogue at the home of NGOs is part of an epoch-making event that serves to further empower women of this country who constitute about 51% of the population.
Funded by the U.S. Embassy under the Democracy and Human Rights Fund, it is a 12-month project in which Tango, in partnership with other development stakeholders in the public, private and civil society sectors, will be engaging law and policymakers, as well as private sector and civil society actors and institutions, including political parties, traditional authorities and institutions, to advocate for the empowerment of women and youth for their full and active participation in national affairs. These efforts, we hope, will seek to positively influence policy, public policy and legislation at central and local levels, as well as monitor public institutions in their delivery of social goods and services.
It is thus in recognition of such challenges confronting women that Tango conceived the Women in Politics Project, funded by the U.S. Embassy under the Democracy and Human Rights Funds. The project seeks to engage policymakers as well as private and civil society actors to positively influence policy and legislation in the delivery of social goods and services.
The reason why we are undertaking this project is simply because over time we have realized that women who form the majority in this country remain at the bottom rungs of society. Not only is the illiteracy rate higher among women, there is also ample evidence to show that more women are living with HIV and AIDS than men. Studies show that the majority of the poor in any society are women, while it is women who die in the process of giving life to another human being. Furthermore, because of socio-cultural and economic factors, women are denied control and ownership of productive resources, including credit, even in terms of acquisition of power to participate and decide in matters that affect their own lives, as well as the overall well-being of society. Women are being marginalized, hence their low representation, powerlessness, and voicelessness. It is in recognition of this reality that Tango has conceived this project, Women in Politics. This is an awareness, creation, and advocacy initiative that seeks to promote the participation and representation of women in national decision-making processes and institutions. Funded by the U.S. Embassy under the Democracy and Human Rights Fund, it is a 12-month project.
The U.S. Embassy recognizes the long-standing partnership between Tango and the Embassy in the promotion of democracy, good governance, and economic development.
Tango has done vital work to protect human rights, alleviate poverty, support responsible environmental management, and teach youth the importance of education and life skills. Tango has also worked to educate and foster dialogue on gender sensitivity and gender equality. It has also promoted a discussion of traditional gender roles and the empowerment of women and youth, especially in the political process. This is a critical issue because more than half of the Gambia's population is under 15 years old, and about 60% of the population is women.
The Women in Development Project, according to officials, will not only contribute to the empowerment of women and youth, but add value and new issues and interest to the political discourse, which will certainly generate more engagement and fast-track gender mainstreaming in national development process.
This is one of those very good projects that we think this country needs. over the years, since independence, there has been talk of bringing women in the forefront of politics.
In the course of the few months or the following months to the end of the project, we hope that we will be seeing many more women come out to stand for election, to get nominated by their parties, to stand for election and win elections. Part of this project, we want to particularly push an agenda, which is the gender quota, to see how at the level of our political parties and at national institutions, representative institutions at the national local level, how can we deliberately allocate or identify a percentage or a number of seats to women, allocate this number of seats to women.
The official launch of the multi-stakeholder project was followed by a policy dialogue on women's political participation and representation. The forum also witnessed a series of presentations by prominent personalities on key issues towards building a culture of empowerment and self-actualization for women. Samuel Ba, Grts.
A group of Senegalese students are presently traveling around the country, sampling its historical relics on an exchange visit with members of the Gambia Red Cross Society. A partnership that has endured many years. Both organizations are looking to strengthen the link by exploring each other's norms and cultures. Ibrahim Ajata has the rest of that story.
We're here at the National Museum, the National Council for Arts and Culture. This place contains a wealth of relics dating back to the earliest times in the city. Visitors to this place will discover an impression, a perfect impression of the earliest days, especially the turn of the 19th century, when a host of significant events made history in Banjul. Students moving from one artifact to another, observing the accounts of times long gone. It's a busy day at the National Museum as these teens from Senegal explore the diverse records, norms, and customs of the Gambia. It's one of those edifying moments which greatly enriches and aids the development of young people, fusing assorted experiences of earlier days leading to the present era.
This club, the Enfant de Yakar, they are in Dakar, and we are the members of the Kanifing Municipality Red Cross branch. So it's a twinning that we have with them, and we normally organize camps, and it is every year we'll be going to their country, that is Senegal, and they will also come to our country, that is the Gambia. So last year they hosted us, and this year we are the host. It's part of our program guide that we have a visit, because most of them, this is the first time of them coming to the Gambia. So it's better for them to come and explore the Gambia, to come and see what is happening and what was happening prior before them coming to the Gambia. So yeah. So
by this visit, your relations, continue to be strengthened.
Yeah, this relation will continue to be strengthened, and we believe or hope so when we go back to Dakar, they will also take us to the museum as well for us to know Senegal better and more.
Margaret Kebe, a teacher who traveled with the students from Pekin, explained how these children never had a chance to venture out of their native country. It's a great learning experience for the teens. The Gambia has a very rich history which immensely explains the Senegambian story and the richly cultured ways of its people, Margaret Kebe disclosed.
It's a beautiful exhibition, Ibrahim, as you have just mentioned. The history, the exhibition that we have here interprets, the history, the tradition, the culture of Banjul in the form of objects, photographs, sketches, maps, artist impressions, etc., etc.
It's definitely engaging and deeply enlightening to walk through the maze of relics, pictures, and records depicting accounts of the former times. Visitors to this museum quickly realize the divergent ways of the Gambia and the buoyant traditions which used to define the past. This is just the manner to introduce young people to ancient customs in ways that inculcate the right values in them. Aline Balde, the head teacher who led the group to the Gambia, told GRTS, explaining the firm link between the school and the Gambia Red Cross Society. We've been conducting this cultural exchange for years now, and every year it keeps getting better, with visits exposing children to novel cultures, lifestyles, and values beyond their homes. It's the new way to connect in the 21st century cultural exchanges to share values and cultures, which helps to enlighten, unite, and